I'm on
Hello
the
and
show and I forgot the
welcome back.
music.
We got the music. Sorry, we
Yes.
already had technical difficulties. We just started. Welcome back to the AZ12 Wildcats podcast. I'm your temporary host, Shelby Scheer, here with
Cody James Martin.
Cody James
I'm
Martin. Can't miss the
in
J
front
in
of the
there.
camera. Yeah, in front of the camera today.
Yes, he's running both sides of the house today, so we're being very patient and very kind. Thank you so much, sir. Arizona basketball just defeated Colorado, a little bit closer than it should have been game. We're at a final of 78-63. And what are your initial thoughts about that game, Cody?
It was a really good game for Arizona in the second half. The first half wasn't great, but they definitely picked it up in the second half. It was about 30 minutes of okay basketball and then 10 minutes of really good basketball. So for me, it's Colorado. It's hard to play that game, especially with Iowa State coming in. But it was a good game overall.
I mean, win's a win. We're going to take it again. The first half was weird. I guess we can all agree on that. There was very low energy, and reports from inside McHale's that the energy from the crowd wasn't that great. You could tell it didn't look sold out, but some of those people just maybe had other things to do today. Colorado played zone in that game, which they haven't really done all year long, and Arizona really just looked kind of unprepared for that. I know that that's something that they struggled with once or twice this season. I'm hoping that they would have fixed that, but that's okay. They came back the second half. I know that Caleb Love, even though he did finish with double digits, he had 10 points. It was another struggle today, which I'm a little surprised about.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his stat line, and his shot really struggled, but he did a lot of other things in the game. He only had one turnover. He had 4 assists, 6 rebounds. He did a lot of other things on the court. And when you look at him as a scorer, then yeah, it probably definitely wasn't a really good game for him. But as a player in general, just as an overall player, he did a really good job with facilitating and just kind of getting out of the rest of the way for the team at times.
Yeah, I think that's a growth moment for Caleb. Like I could see like today that he was not getting his shots, and sometimes I feel like he might be cursed by like a voodoo witch or something because those shots should have gone in. Like his first 3 shots of the game were like in the bucket, and then just someone threw it out invisibly. So it was nice that he got a couple of those threes at the end of the first half that kind of changed the energy a little bit. But it's one of those games where Arizona still wins if Caleb's not playing well. And that's mostly from the efforts of ADO, who we're going to talk about. KJ Lewis hustled his booty off today, like insane. There was a couple moments where he was just flying all over the court. I know he got kind of tired. He got gassed because he was covering so much, but that was great. Obviously, effort too from Townsend. Mike's not here. His favorite player hustled today as well. 2 games. Is it 2 or 3 games in a row?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's positive.
Well, and one thing you mentioned, KJ Lewis got gassed, and Corey Williams actually brought it up on the broadcast. I know not everyone likes Corey Williams, but it was a great point to make out. He was hustling around, chasing his man around the court for a good like 4 or 5 minutes without a break, and he even turned to Lloyd and said, "Hey, like I gotta get out of here. I need a break."
Yeah, smart.
And that's one of those things where I'm not sure a freshman KJ Lewis does that.
That's true.
And so having him be able to, have that poise and that mentality of like, all right, I'm gonna get a break and I'm gonna come right back in, is great from a team aspect.
Yeah, I thought it was great. AJW said KJ was getting fouled too on those drives. I mean, he was getting hammered. And it
Yeah.
was interesting, and maybe it's not just me. You guys can comment. It was odd that the refs were just kind of letting them play through things that were clearly fouls. Like there are things that normally are called, and then we have to go look at the monitor and spend a lot of time. It was like all business today with those refs. They let them play through quite a bit of stuff. I had no complaints. Usually I'm pretty pissed at the refs in general, but shockingly kind of clean today.
Yeah, I thought that was a great reffing game overall. They let them play. It's one of the things that's definitely been a big improvement in going to the Big 12 is that we have more of these games where they're being let play and less of the 50 fouls a game type games that we would see on a regular basis in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And it was consistent. They let them play for the most part. There was a couple in there that were a little, here and there, but other than that, it was pretty consistent, and that's been a nice to see. Even if it's been called tight or loose in whatever game it is, it's at least been pretty consistent.
Yeah. Patrick Miller said there were less than 20 free throws for both teams. Like that was an odd thing for an Arizona basketball game. But David Rosen just said the crowd was lacking that Big 12 energy. You could hear it on TV. It was completely quiet the first half for the most part. So I hope that Arizona fans start really realizing that they're not the top dog in the conference as far as packing their stadium or their venues anymore. We need to get better. As far as the second half, obviously there was a change. Arizona just played better. They started moving the ball around. Honestly, Jason always talks about like the law of averages, and if something's not happening in the first half, it's going to happen in the second half. Their shots started falling in, and then the energy level it just went way up, and that was a great time to allow Del Orso, obviously, and Henry got in the game the second half. He kind of got shut out the first half of the game. So overall, I was getting a little concerned, at the first half, because Colorado has a tendency to play close. They're always kind of scrappy, but they just don't have the gunpowder really to play with Arizona to the end.
Yeah, it was. It was. It's one of the things that makes the crowd, get into it and the players get a lot of energy is always dunks. But one thing for the second half of the game was that ADL played out of his mind, and every time he hit one of those big threes, you could feel the crowd, you could feel the players just kind of like just get so much extra energy from all of that, and it was one of the things that I think helped out them most.
Yeah, there's a couple times, and Jason's. We'll get to the player of the game. I'm sure he's going to be thrilled, but I will say, watching ADO kind of blossom into his confidence. He knows what his role is in this team now, and especially when Caleb is not feeling it. If for whatever reason Caleb's not having a good game, ADO is going to try to shoot the ball, whether Caleb's playing well or he's not playing well. I do think that his defense, there's some mismatches he was up against under the basket several times, and he's never going to be able to get the ball, in those instances. But I mean, he's always out there trying, which is good. And Trey at the beginning of the game was the only player really at those first 3 or 4 shots who was able to break through Colorado's zone right under the basket. So I think, like, as far as effort today, considering this was a trap game, like, honestly, Colorado, they're the lowest in the whole Big 12. Arizona is already looking past this game probably. I was actually pleased with the effort because I was expecting it to be not great. And the first half was a little touch and go.
Yeah, anytime you take Colorado, which winless team, to halftime only leading by 2, you, especially at home, you kind of have to wonder, is this a game where they finally break through? Colorado, I don't think is at that point where they've given up on their season yet, and so they're still fighting. Obviously, they played a tremendous game today for about 35 minutes, but you can never count a team out that's winless, especially this early in the season, because you never know when they're gonna push through and finally get that first win.
And we are not remiss in bringing up the fact, yes, David Rosen, Awaka dominated the glass today. He was all over the place, right under the basket most of the time. He was where he was supposed to be. He was grabbing rebounds. He had some steals. He really kind of came into his own. And we have a super snap. Tyler Warden, Mike and Jason are on the hot seat. The backups are playing the lights out. Oh, thank you, Tyler. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Tyler.
Jason is covering the game. He's actually at the press conference right now, as he usually is for home games. Mike took 1 day off. He is allowed to have 1 day off on occasion. So they are, where they're supposed to be. And hopefully Mike's having fun where he is. But anyway, back to Awaka. Yes, Awaka did dominate. It was nice to see him. And I know we were joking about calling the Eugene twins. So far, the last few games, they must be listening to this podcast or listening to Mike's Twitter, because the effort really has ramped up, and you can see those skill sets coming in. And I mean, they both played lights out. Townsend played 19 minutes today.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
And, Townsend, and a lot of that was the first half because I think he only played 8 minutes in the second half. But together, 16 points, 19 rebounds combined is really good. I think that's exactly what Jason and Mike were saying they needed out of them combined a couple of days ago, and they just did a really good job. There was a point I was listening to the radio at the same time as I was listening to the game, and Brian Jeffries, I think, was saying that Awaka, this is a man's game, and Awaka just cashed in on an offensive rebound.
oh yeah.
And it was a really great moment. He played tremendous today. If they can get 8 and 15, they can get 8 and 10 out of him on a regular basis. That's going to be huge going into March.
I think it's going to be great. TJ Van Marder, this is the most focused, organized AZ12 show ever. I run a tight ship and I don't have ADD, guys. So, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of shout outs to do, but I did, where are we at as far as don't we need to be reading ads and paying bills, Cody?
We do need to pay some bills. We're going to go with the Green Valley Decorative Rock Player of the Game.
All right.
Green Valley Decorative Rock, 2 locations. Make sure you go to Tucson or Green Valley for your decorative rock.
Yes, and if Mike was here, he would tell you they deliver and they go all over. And what does he usually say? Like West to Marana, North to Catalina, Oracle, East or South to Benson.
East
It's
to
not really
Benson,
East,
South
is
to
it?
Nogales. I think it's
Yeah,
Southeast.
is it Southeast? While
It's
you're
east on the 10.
That's somewhere on the I-10, Green Valley Decorative Rock will deliver to you. So, also, if you guys have a minute, hit the like button and subscribe if you have not already done so. Thank you so much. The Green Valley Decorative Rock Player of the Game, clearly, if you're going by numbers, is ADO. We talked about Deli a little bit, but he definitely earned his crown today as far as the player of the game. There's not even any competition. He was the highest scoring player, and he had career record. How many threes today, Cody?
He had a career high 6 3-pointers today.
Six. That's amazing. I can't try to shout. I'm like 6. Pop.
But yeah, if you were going to go anyone for contention, it was Awaka with 8 and 15 is huge. He did have 4 fouls, didn't have any turnovers, which is great too.
Yep, that was important.
And a very efficient 4 of 6 for that 8 points.
Yeah,
the
he
only,
was.
And as much as rebounds are tremendous, and 15 is a huge number, I think it kind of goes back to, when you think about player of the game, which player had the bigger impact, and ADO hitting those threes in the spots that he was hitting them and just kind of electrifying the crowd and pumping up the team. I think that is a bigger advantage than 15 rebounds.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, I think he really showed his value again today. I've seen the value. He definitely has a role to play, but he's actually kind of starting to expand outside of what was kind of established. Like, you are the shooting guy. I think that every time, he does get on the court, his defending isn't great, but I have seen improvement there too. He's actually beating guys. He's starting to, prove Jason wrong, basically. And I had several texts from Jason today saying, oh man, I'm going to get flamed today about ADO. I think, Jason does know that he has value, and he's talked about it on the Wildcat Scoop podcast. And he was the only guy capable really today of busting Colorado's zone. So for all those reasons and more, we are definitely celebrating ADO today. Thank you so much, Green Valley Decorative Rock.
And we have a good comment right here too. The Andy Bryant talking to Kobe Thiel. It's like ADO adds spacing. Shelby, Are you pro or anti spacing?
This is tough because I do think there's a time and a place for spacing. So I'm kind of neutral. I'm neutral on this issue. It really depends on the context, but yeah.
I'm definitely pro spacer.
Pro spacer.
You cannot have a clogged lane.
That's true.
You gotta have spacing.
Okay.
Especially like you could tell too when that zone they're trying to pack it in. If Arizona starts hitting those shots, that you could see them get inside. That's why Veesaar was able to have so much success later in the game is because Arizona started hitting shots and it kind of opened things up. So definitely pro spacing.
Yep, that's how it works around here. Okay. All right. Up next, we have our moment of the game, which
We
is,
have
I think we
our
both converged before the broadcast. We kind of talked about it and we wound up having nearly the same moment of the game. And this is Jason's moment of the game, too. But when the score was 45-42, Henry and KJ had really not done much most of the game until Henry did a layup, KJ had a free throw, and then it led to Bradley's monster dunk. And then Arizona went up 8. That was a game-changing moment. And that is presented by RJ's Frozen Cactus, Red Hot Sports, Ice Cold Craft Beer. And Cody has all the rest of the words to say about that.
Well, I hope that there were some people that went to RJ's before the game today and then ride shared. Some people say Uber, but ride share. There's some other ones out there. Leave your car in the parking lot. They've got a huge parking lot. You can go there, have a beer, go to the game, have a beer, come back, have a beer. Just beers all around.
Lots of beer.
Yeah, or food. They have lots of pizza, wings, steak. They have everything at RJ's Frozen Cactus. So
yeah, I haven't been yet. We are planning on going, especially to watch some games coming up, and it's hard for Arizona games, but for like a NFL game or when that's almost over too. But baseball's coming up, that'll be fun. So
definitely.
we're definitely going to be making out to RJ's Frozen Cactus. Arizona, during the Arizona game, ASU played Iowa State, and a little bit of a surprise, played them much closer than anyone expected. It kind of seems like Iowa State was also looking forward to the Arizona game today and looked at ASU as their trap game. So it's definitely something that you can never take these kind of games for granted. And obviously, we're gonna take a win. Oh, we just got a super sticker from Jeremy.
Jeremy Snavely.
Jeremy Snavely. Snavely or Snavely, either way. Thank you.
Yep. Thank
for
you.
the super sticker. Appreciate it. David Rosen said ASU, they choked at the end like usual. Of course they did. And when you're playing such a great team as Iowa State, you're really going to see that difference in the last 2 minutes of the game. So when ASU's gassed, even if it's in front of their measly crowd and their crazy coach, that's the difference between an elite team and not. And I think that I knew Iowa State was probably going to pull that out right at the end, but yeah, Eric Brotherton said ASU versus Colorado will be a nail biter.
Well, I was checking in on that Iowa State ASU game throughout the day, and it kind of felt just like this game, the Arizona Colorado game, where even though it was close, Iowa State was losing. In the back of your head, you kind of just knew, okay, well, the last 10 minutes, Iowa State's going to take over because the ASU can't play 40 minutes of amazing basketball.
No.
And same with Colorado. Colorado could play great for a half. Some may say that they even won a half at one point in time.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, that doesn't make the full game. So
yeah. But yeah, when you're that low, and it doesn't matter if you're low in the conference. When you're just that bad of a team, it's hard to play a full 40 minutes against a big team like in Arizona or Iowa State.
Yeah, Andy Bryan just said all 3 fans for ASU Colorado will be on the edge of their seats. Did we just get a super snap from Bridge Tech Communications?
For season from 3, Lewis, 6 of 34, 17.4%. Love is 44 of 144, 30.5%. Bradley is 14 of 42 for 33%. Bryant is 15 of 44 for 34%. And ADO is 36 of 73 for 49.3%.
He's a shooter. That ADO kid, that Australian wizard, the Australian wizard ADO. All right. So Arizona wins. We take the win. Obviously, they're going to hopefully store up some energy because they've got a big game coming up on Monday. But before we switch to that, there is a quote from Tab Boyle after the game that Jason sent me. Obviously, we're not a zone team, he said, but we thought it was one thing that we could do to keep the crowd out of it. I thought Tobe Awaka was the difference in the game with the way he rebounded the ball. So even Tad Boyle, first of all, Tad Boyle scouted our crowd, which is not good. So everyone needs to do better. Like, you need to be loud. And secondly, of course, Awaka was a huge game. I mean, like, if we could do like a honorable mention for player of the game, it would go to Awaka, because that was a fantastic defensive performance today. And he had 8 points. He grabbed eight buckets. And overall, I think Jason also tweeted that he thought that I had a lot to say today. I mean, I'm just gonna take the win. There's things that could always be cleaned up. I'm not super thrilled, and I've said this on Wildcat Scoop podcast. I don't think this is very controversial. I don't understand how a fifth-year senior like Caleb Love can be so inconsistent. Like, you can't have a 27-point game last game and be fantastic, and then do this middling to fair thing. Yes, he plays a role. Yes, he helps out. But it's just frustrating to like not have that senior that you can rely on. Like, that's a freshman MO to me. Like, freshman maybe into sophomore year. It just drives me nuts.
It kind of makes me wonder if Arizona has like a sports therapist that they
I've said
have in
that
the
too.
department.
Jason says they have a sports psychologist. And I mean, like, he's just so in his head. I'm not knocking him at all as far as like, as a person, but like as a player. And it is difficult to plan for in your head as a fan, or as, just maybe even the coaching staff, if you don't know which Caleb is showing up today. And, that is what is frustrating to me. But today, actually, of the games that he could have had, he was productive. So you can't really take that away from him. So anyway,
Well, and that's definitely, I think, if you look at Caleb Love, if he's gonna have a 3 of 14 night shooting, you want him to be able to help out in other ways. And I think that he did that tonight. He wasn't completely destructive. He took some bad shots, of course, but he wasn't completely destructive and taking everything away from the rest of the team.
Yeah, we had the comments are all just scrolling past us, but someone just said Caleb Love is saving all of his games for March Madness. So that's the one thing that I keep telling myself, like, he's gonna, like, his ROI is gonna go right back up if he can like just become the star of the tournament. But that's always quite a shaky dream. So we'll see. Bridge Tech Communications. Arizona's problems are all because it can't shoot threes. Well,
I mean, they were 9 of 27 today. That's not 33% is not great, but it's good enough.
It's not bad. And CB Wildcat, you're right. CB Wildcat said Shelby Love's activity and body language were good today. That's what I'm saying. Of all the games that he's had where he didn't play great, he started pouting. Like, he was in it the whole time. So that was good. And John Lee Walker said, I'd rather have ADO take a big shot than Love. Love did fill out the stats today, and he elevates the team in underappreciated ways. So we brought that up. We mentioned that. He did play a different role today, which is good. I just wish he would realize that most people can't guard him and just drive the basket. Now in the zone today, the lane was clogged up. I get it. All right, moving on. We have a look forward to the next game.
Just one thing. I mean, if you look at the stats, he had a very similar game to Jaden Bradley tonight. And I'm sure there's going to be people who say like Bradley wasn't very good, and but he had very similar numbers. 2 of 9 from the field, 7 points, 2 rebounds, but he had 6 assists.
Yeah, I mean, he did his job. He's a point guard. That's what he's supposed to do.
And he had a team high. I know everyone, Mike and Jason hate plus minus, but he had the team high plus 20.
Yep.
So,
at this point, can we just say that Jason and Mike, at least Jason, like, looks at the plus minus all the time? Like, they might hate it, but like, they're still looking at it, so it kind of wins.
Yeah. And you can tell it's not a great stat, but it definitely has some meaning. So I like it, but I like all stats because I think I'm a stats nerd.
A stats nerd. You're right, Julian. Imagine if ADO and Caleb both played great together. I mean, that's the dream, right? Like, can they both have a really good double-digit game together? I'm hoping that's happening soon.
We're gonna save that for the Elite Eight game.
Yes, for the Elite Eight game, if we're going to get that far this year. So, all right, moving on and looking forward, Arizona does play Iowa State on a kind of weird Monday. You know,
It's a very late game. We're going to do
very late.
the back the Eris look ahead, Eris Dental, multiple locations in town.
Do
So
you have here? Hold on. Do you have a mouth guard, Cody? Like,
I don't. I have terrible teeth. I got to get with Lan Allen though. I have terrible teeth.
it sounds like you need Aris Dental.
I do need Eris Dental. Hopefully, from what I've heard, they have very reasonable prices for a lot of their work that they do. So hopefully, I can get in there and be able to get some good work done without breaking the bank.
Yeah, sounds like you will. So this is going to be back the ARIS look ahead at the next game. Arizona plays at McHale on Monday against Iowa State. Really, the keys to that game, at least in my humble opinion, is they got to have energy. They've got to come out and they got to punch them in the mouth. They
Mm-hmm.
need to rebound and need to match their guards. So our guards need to be matching their guards. Iowa State always plays hard. They're not going to let off. They're going
Mm-hmm.
to take it down to the wire. Obviously, they did today against ASU, and they had a positive result. Curtis Jones is also dangerous. He's very good, and Arizona hopefully is scheming for him. It is definitely Jason called it a scary matchup, and I'm sure when we do the preview podcast on Sunday for this game, he's going to break it down, obviously play it position by position. But that game is definitely one that's been circled on Tommy Lloyd's calendar, I'm sure, all year long.
It definitely has. We got a comment. Word is that Mike's suspended because of what he said last week. I cannot. I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Yeah, Mike's in the
Um,
doghouse. That's what it is. That's what it is.
yeah.
My favorite part
um,
of that is he did not know what that phrase meant. Like that was the
no, he
best part.
didn't.
I
He
still
didn't.
think everyone still, if they do super steps, needs to do those funny names and try to see if he'll read them. That'll be even better.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. He almost got caught with one of them the last time we were on.
I know. He almost which one was it? It was
It
the
was
Jack one.
no, it was the Mike one.
The Mike one.
Yeah,
Oh
Mike.
my god. It's so
Uh,
good.
but yeah, Iowa State is a scary game. I actually think Arizona loses that game. I think that Mike and Jason think that Arizona's going to win. I just think Arizona's too inconsistent to really bank on winning that game. They could win; it's totally possible if they have a good game from 3 or 4 players have like really good games. But um, they've just been too inconsistent this year. And even though they're on a really good streak right now, winning what is it, 8 out of 9,
Hmm.
it's hard to say you're going up against Iowa State, the number 2, number 3 team in the country, and you're going to be consistent enough to win that game.
Cody just called you, or Kobe, sorry. Kobe just called you out, Cody, and said, "This is a Cody hedge. We have our
This is
hedge
a
of the
hedge.
week."
This is a hedge. It is. It is a little bit. I could see Arizona winning, but I just don't think they will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit, and this is always rings true. Whenever you have a game where you have to expend so much energy, it is hard to match energy the next game. And
Mhm.
they're the road team, and they just had to like spend more energy than in their bank than they wanted to on ASU. So they're going to come here a little more tired, a little more beat up. I agree with you. Arizona hasn't played as consistent across the board as we'd like. Obviously, Caleb Love. I saw a comment in here. Someone said, well, what if ADO and Caleb both have 20 plus games? Well, obviously, Arizona's going to win. I think this is going to be a close one, but I mean, I have picked other teams over Arizona, but I do think Arizona is capable of beating Iowa State. If they're going to do it, it would have to be at home, because if this was at Iowa State, I wouldn't pick Arizona to win. So I do think it'll be a close game, but it'll be one of those weird ones within like 3 to 5 points where you start fouling at the end and you get the fouls, and I think that'll be where it'll end up. But
Yeah.
we
And
really need.
AJW,
Sorry, go ahead.
again, AJW makes a really good point. They can't let Iowa State come off from the 3.
Yeah.
That's something that Arizona was really, really poor at the beginning of the year, 3-point defense. they've gotten better at it, but it definitely is still a weakness of this team, and that's one of the things that I think scares me the most about Iowa State is that they like to shoot a lot of threes. They shoot them
They
and they hit
do.
them, and it's crazy.
Well, it's also Arizona's perimeter defense has been abysmal. As far as just staying on your man. And one thing that's always good for these games that you're hoping that, people are learning from mistakes and moving forward is like Carter Bryant today obviously wasn't a huge game changer. And he did come in and you could see him making mistakes. And even if like he's out of position and he helped block that one shot, that wasn't his position guy to be on. That was actually Henry. But, in that case, it worked. But then the next time he does that, he gets a foul. So, I mean, that's one
Mhm.
of those we were talking before. I said that Carter reminds me of like a big Great Dane puppy, that they're just loping around and you can kind of see that not everything is clicking quite yet, but then they do something amazing. And so I think
Yeah,
that's kind of what we expect from Carter, but I've seen his growth over the last, few games that he's been in too. So it's going to be one of those games that, yes, Brian Tassel McHale needs to be loud on Monday at like 8:30. I'm hoping that like the students are going to be insane. Just the energy level needs to be like a huge vibe on Monday. So we'll see how
yeah.
that goes.
Well, and hopefully, the people that can't be up that late will, sell their tickets or give their tickets away. I know it's hard to have energy at 8:30 at night. Even I'm
Yeah.
not nearly as old as most people that go to the games, and I struggle at 8:30.
Well, you got a small kid and a pregnant wife. You got a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
8:30, but it's hard to start 8:30. And just like contextually, like if a game starts at 8:30, it ends about 10:30, then there's a press conference. Jason doesn't get home until like 11:30 midnight. So when they're
Yeah.
those late night games, it's hard for us to do the podcast after, and it's always funny. So that's why he might look a little raggled the day after a late game if he's on this podcast. Um, I just want something to note today was a little bit unusual at McHale. The women are going to be playing today at I believe 6 or 6:30 against West Virginia. So it's a double header at McHale today. If anybody is going, support the Arizona women's basketball team. And there's one thing that was notable that happened in the last 48 hours is that Arizona baseball was picked number 2 in the preseason poll, obviously for the Big 12. They're the reigning champions from the defunct conference that we used to be a member of. Hello, Jeremy Gonzalez. It's good to see you as well. Thank you for saying hello. But anyway, just a couple recaps for a couple other sports. Arizona women's basketball. Hopefully, we'll have a great game. And Arizona winning today was awesome. Any final thoughts for you, Cody?
I thought they did a lot of what they needed to do today. Uh, it wasn't the energy wasn't great, but you still saw, Trey Townsend did what we thought he needed to do. Toby Walker did what he needed to do. Caleb Love did what he needed to do if he wasn't scoring. So it was just a lot of everyone doing what they needed to do, and when that happens, you win. They won by 15, and that's exactly what it worked out. The only thing that I really had a mild issue with was they had a lot of turnovers in the first 30 minutes of the game. I think they had 9 up to like the 12-minute mark in the second half. They finished the game with 10, so you clean it up, and all of a sudden, hey, you're up 15 points. So
Yep. You just got to do the fundamentals and do them well. And don't try to be a team that you aren't. And I will say one thing that I thought was good today. Tad Boyle has been at Colorado forever. This might have been the last time he coaches at McHale, depending how acceptable Colorado's leadership thinks their team being in the toilet is again. But I did think Tommy coached a fairly good game today. Just like touching base on the coaching, making adjustments. I didn't think he yanked people too early. Like people were getting rest appropriately. So we'll see how it goes. And Monday's game is going to be great. And obviously, normally Mike would say to Jason, "Where can everyone find you doing your work?" But you're already here, usually just not on camera.
I am already here. I will be doing some baseball stuff once baseball gets started. I'll be
Nice.
following. I'll be following baseball for our podcast, so I'll be on to talk about some of that. Um, I'll check in on softball, but I don't know how much we're going to get into that just because of numbers and everything. But yeah, I'll be here. I'll be running things behind the scenes, and I'll make appearances whenever I need to.
Whenever we need to step in and save the day, that's what we're here for, Cody.
Yep. And
Just
where can they
reviewing
find you?
well, you can find me on the Wildcat Scoop podcast with Jason and on Twitter at Ms. Shelby K. And if you happen to attend a Marana event, I probably planned that event because that's my real job. Also, just reviewing our super snaps before we go. AJW early on said, "My bad ADO." And Jason's
Definitely my
gonna
bad idea.
owe a my bad ADO to Delhi here soon.
So
Tyler Warden.
do you know in our group chat? Do you know what they call ADO?
Mm-mm.
At one point in time, someone's autocorrect messed up, and so they call him Del Oreo.
Oh my gosh. Or De La Rosa. Like
Yeah,
he's got so many names.
I like Del Oreo a lot better
Del
than Del
Oreo.
Rosa,
Yeah, I like
though.
that. I like that. Tyler Warden, Mike and Jason are on the hot seat. The backups are playing lights out. Thank you so much, Tyler, about that. Jeremy Snavely, a $5 super sticker, which was awesome. We appreciate that. And Bridge Check gave us a whole bunch of stats, the stats for the threes for the season. Obviously, the best one on that stat line is ADO, and he
It's
deserves
really
all of his flowers.
KJ Lewis. It's really surprising how bad he is at shooting threes.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of, I mean, like everyone should have that in their bag. Like, they really
Mhm.
worked on that last year. My brain just exploded. I can't remember who it is, but that's something like just for the big guys to have in their back pocket to make them more marketable to be on the NBA teams. But um, Dick Wilson, Jason better bring Shelby roses for saving the show. It's our pleasure and we appreciate it. We're fans and colleagues of Jason and Mike just as much as you guys are. Definitely we'll see you next time. You've been listening to the AZ12 Wildcats podcast.